Okay, so every Friday we have a practice from a book called Cafe Gratitude, and we have someone come up and share from their experience. And this week, Becky may or may not read from Cafe Gratitude, but she has something else. Today. Okay, good. So welcome, Becky Johnson.
Hello. I'm going to read from, it's two things, so you guys get a bonus this week. So the Cafe Gratitude for April 19th is gratitude is the sign of noble souls. How you like that one? And then the bottom part says, do you adore the person in the mirror? So let's give some gratitude for that person in the mirror. Yeah. Everybody. Okay, now I need to share the lesson for today. I was just talking with Lisa. I just wanted to make sure, because they said they just got done with the living or with the 40-day. And that gives you a great opportunity and a stopping point or a dropping off point to get into the Living in Purpose program that's offered through the Teachers of God. Along with the Living in Purpose program, which will change your life. It did mine. You also get the 365. And if you don't do the 365 in this book, you're like missing out on the majority of the book. So I'm just going to read a little bit of the lesson today. I'm sorry, I'm swinging this mic all over. And the lesson today is turned into kind of one of my favorite ones this year. And it's lesson 109. I rest in God. So, and we start off the paragraphs. We ask for rest today and quietness, unshaken by the world's appearance. We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all the turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and for happiness, although we seem to look on danger and on sorrow. And we have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says, I rest in God. Completely undismayed, this thought will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onward of certainty of God. This is the day of peace. You rest in God. You will call to all to join you in your rest, and they will hear and come to you because you rest in God. They will not hear another voice but yours, because you gave your voice to God. And now you rest in him and let him speak through you. And then this is probably my favorite line in the whole entire book of 10,000 pages. And it's in paragraph 7. Each hour that you take your rest today, a tired mind is suddenly made glad. A bird with broken wings begins to sing. A stream long dry begins to flow again. The world is born again each time you rest and hourly remember that you come to bring the peace of God into the world, that it might take its rest along with you. You rest within the peace of God today and call upon your brothers from your rest to draw them to their rest along with you. And I like this because it reinforces that you need to bring your brother with you. And we're all one mind. We're one person. We're one mind. You need to bring your brother with you. So each time you rest, you pray, you think of somebody, that goes out everywhere. And I just want everyone to remember that on this Good Friday. Okay, and that's lesson 109. And you get these nuggets when you get the 365. Yes.
There's a webinar on April 23rd that's all about living in purpose, and it's free. So tell people to go.
What time is your webinar?
1 o'clock.
Come on, Bill.
1 o'clock.
Then you can introduce the gorgeous for God, Lisa Natoli.
Okay, thank you. I love you too.
I love you, Bill.
Yeah. Isn't she awesome? Yeah, she's awesome. And that workbook lesson, I Rest in God, that's one of my favorites too. And it's interesting that you don't have to spend an hour for that for that to happen. It's a moment of stillness. It's a moment of remembering God, that the power of that moment, and you're acknowledging God presence, those things occur. A dried up stream flows again. A bird's broken wing is healed. The power of our stillness is executing the dominion and the power of God that is held in this being that we are. It's just amazing. I just love the language of the Course, and that's why I always go back to the Course no matter what I do with awareness. I love the character and the descriptions that are given about our dominion, about our beingness that comes from the Course. Well, there's another beingness that I'm totally in love with. Her name is Holy Lisa Natoli. Please welcome Lisa Natoli.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm Lisa Natoli, but not really. I am Christ. And
Babe, I forgot to tell about the webinar.
I'll tell them about the webinar. I know. That's funny. So today I'm going to be talking about that. You are Christ. And that really is the final place that A Course in Miracles is leading us. And that, to many people, sounds like blasphemy, because there is only one Christ according to much of the world's teaching, and it was a guy that lived 2,000 years ago. So I want to really bring it down to the very practical today. That's just how I teach. It has to be simple, practical, doable, down to earth. And you must have your own direct experience. So I can speak the words of my own experience, but until you know this experience as love's presence. Oh, fell down. Thank you. Okay, is that better?
Keep talking.
Okay. So just what Bill was going to say, I'm doing a live webinar this coming Tuesday at 1 o'clock for those of you who completed the 40-day program for transformation. We did a March 1st launch. There was 900 people that did it, which is so exciting. And we're doing a webinar this coming Tuesday. So if you're not on that list and you would like to be on that list, or you'd like to come to the webinar, just write to us at info@teachersofgod.org, and we'll make sure that you get the invitation to come on Tuesday. So what I wanted to do today was I want to give you a holiness practice that is a little bit like a meditation practice. And I loved lesson 109 too. And that section that you just read, Becky, about a dry and dusty world is actually the cover of Gorgeous for God. So I made that cover for Gorgeous for God. It's a dry and dusty ground, all cracked and dry, and there's a purple butterfly. And that's where I got the image from lesson 109, because it says that there's life in a dry and dusty place, and that's what this world is. This world is a place of death. This world is a place of pain and suffering and sorrow and confusion. And into this dry place of death is life. There's water, and a stream begins to flow again. And what I wanted to talk about, I brought my phone because I never can remember what I promised to talk about, is this Friday, Lisa Natoli will be teaching from A Course in Miracles about living from your holiness as the self that God created. Okay, so often people will say, I am present, I am here, and they are talking about a physical location, but where are you? Where is here? You may be present in this moment, but what is your state of mind? What's the point upon which you view yourself in the world? Is this point of viewing as the body, as a person, as an identity with a past and future and storyline looking out from the body's eyes? Or is the point from love, as holiness, looking out from love and holiness, seeing only oneness and truth? Whenever you feel or perceive anything other than joy, peace, and gratitude, you are off the mark from the truth of what you really are. Getting back to your center is as easy as making a decision and changing your direction. Come on home today to truth. There is no need to suffer. Either you are in joy, what A Course in Miracles calls a state of mind of heaven, or you are in hell. There is no in between. So that's today, and that's my whole teaching for the last 20 years. And that's what the Holiness Cure is, the healing cure, which I keep calling the Holiness Cure. It's an 8-week online do-it-yourself coaching program that I created and launched in December. And it's very similar to the 40-day program because my teaching's all the same. Like, we all have certain things that we teach, and each of you has something that you're going to bring forth into the world and that you already are. So for some people, it may be relationships. Some people, it's children. Some people, it's art. Some people, it's animals. Some people, it's like Irene's always wanting to just bring in the ta-da. And so for me, I keep coming back to your holiness. How are you identified? And so I heard about this study that said that 96.4 of your energy goes towards negative thinking. Now, keep in mind with studies, they're always off the mark. How can you possibly come up with 96.4%, right? Like, how can you, like with studies, it's all in a controlled environment. It's all based on only the participants. The scientists in the group know this. But I want you to think about that. I want you to use your life as the research lab. What would you say is the percentage? Like, if you watched yourself for the rest of the day, or you thought about how it is mostly, what percentage would you say you mostly spend in negative thinking? Is it when you're thinking about shame, guilt, judgment of yourself, attack thoughts? Thinking about the past is included in that. Thinking about the future is included in that. How much of your time, percentage-wise, would you say that you are as a body identity? Can we have some numbers here? A lot.
90%.
How much?
90.
90, over 90.
No, just 90.
90, yeah.
Hopefully going down.
And so what this study that I read said, so they have cameras for a long time now that can photograph auras. Like, they can actually, and there's so many studies right now that can prove that when you change the vibration of a thing, it either thrives or dies. So they've done, that water study with that Emoto guy, where when you send love to a plant, it dies. And when you say, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, it dies. So using your life as the experiment ground, where it said that when you think negative thoughts, it registers no light at all around you. You're not emitting any light. Now, of course, you are light. So there is a light in you, but it's covered with all of your grievances, your judgments, your attack thoughts, your body identity ideas. So the light's hidden, but it's there. And this is what we're going to do today in this practice. When you're neutral, it showed that there's a little bit of a light that shows up. So it's visible. And when you are actively and deliberately thinking thoughts of truth, the light is seen visibly. They can actually see it, they can photograph it. And so I've often thought about, how do you get people to actually want to do this work? Like to actually say, okay, I am ready to let go of my grievances. Like I have a dear friend, he's so dedicated. He's in all the Teachers of God programs. He is totally committed. But he writes to me from time to time and says, I have these couple of grievances, I just can't let them go. Can you give me any ideas of what I can do? And there's nothing I can do with that. Like I can inspire you to see how you're attacking yourself when you do that, but it's only up to you to do it. I can't do it for you. So I've been thinking a lot about, and this is for years now, of, Jesus was somebody who was commanding, get up, pick up your bed and walk. And people were healed. People were healed all over the place. And it's what he says is, greater things will you do than he did. Like if one man can do it, everyone can do it. Can we all agree on that? If it's been done by one, it can be done by all. And I know that people are healed around me. I'm positive. I've seen it. I get emails about it. But to me, that's not helpful. Because when you go back into your own vibration, you are back in that place of worry, sadness. So it's kind of like, I don't want to just be somebody who can sit in my bedroom and heal someone with my thoughts, even though I know that's possible. I want to have people know how it's done, because then you do it. Because that's like giving someone a fish to eat. Like if I give you joy and I'm just showing up, like I was in a Jennifer Hadley retreat recently as a presenter, and there was only 12 people that came. So it was a small group. We were there all weekend. Anybody could have asked any questions. I could have sat with people for hours. I could have helped them. The energy was so high that weekend, nobody had a problem. So I was saying, anybody, can anybody just give me anything? Nothing. Right? But then when they went back to their room, the next morning they would say, oh, actually, when I was in my room, I thought of what I would like help with. But when you're actually in the vibration of the Christ, which is what you are, you don't have a problem. You don't have a pain. And so the mind training is to bring you more consistently into that energy field. And you begin to see all that pain and your problems begin to disappear. And so I just love the training. I love what I've seen in my own life as I've done this work. And I just want to do the practice right now, I think, is what I'd like to do. So if everyone can just remove any paper, anything from your lap. And we're training ourselves to be in this resting place. So this is what Bill was just expressing, and what Becky was expressing is that the power is in the stillness. And that's what I have as one of the major practices in the healing cure is relaxation. Bring yourself to focus on the light within you. So you're not just allowing yourself to just be quiet and try to have blank mind. That's not what this is all about. This is about you deliberately and actively contacting this light. You are making conscious contact with the light, which is the Christ in you. And it's the Christ that does the healing. So what we're going to do, and you can do it, you can actually keep your eyes open if you want. It's a little easier to focus when your eyes are closed. And I'm just going to guide you through a little bit. I don't know how much time I'm going to give to be quiet. We'll see how it goes. But so I'll just ask you to all close your eyes for now. So just close your eyes And I want you to turn your attention to the light within you. There's a light there, even if you're not aware of it, it's there. And this light is the love that you are. So just turn your attention there. And this is your holiness. Your holiness is your innocence. And through your holiness, the power of God is made manifest. And through your holiness, the power of God is made available. And this power is available to you. This power can heal all sorrow. It can end all pain. It can remove all difficulty. And in fact, it's already been accomplished. So what I want to ask, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to give just some moments of silence. I want you to just see what arises in your mind. Just let whatever comes. Don't try to force anything. Don't try to have a still mind. Don't try to have a quiet mind. As you're focusing on the light within, perhaps you'll think of a person, or perhaps you'll feel an upset. What I want to ask you to do as the practice now is to actively send this light to that thought, to that person, as your holiness. My holiness blesses you, and then the name of the person who comes up. My holiness blesses the thought that's coming up. If it's a pain in the body, my holiness blesses this pain. Your holiness blesses the world. This idea contains the first glimmerings of your true function in the world, or why you are here. Your purpose is to see the world through your own holiness. Thus are you and the world blessed together. No one loses, nothing is taken away from anyone. Everyone gains through your holy vision. That's what you just did. Instead of thinking about a grievance, you caught the grievance, you caught the person, you caught the fear, and in the space, you actively used your holiness to bless it. That's vision. It signifies the end of sacrifice because it offers everyone his full due. There is no other way in which the idea of sacrifice can be removed forever from the world's thinking. Any other way of seeing will inevitably demand payment of someone or something. As a result, the perceiver will lose. Nor will he have any idea why he is losing. Yet his wholeness, your brother's wholeness, who you just extended your holiness to, is restored to his awareness through your vision. Your holiness blesses him by asking nothing of him. Those who see themselves as whole make no demands. Your holiness is the salvation of the world. It lets you teach the world that it is one with you, not by preaching to it, not by telling it anything, but merely by your quiet recognition that in your holiness are all things blessed with you. Today's 4 longer exercise periods each involve 3 to 5 minutes of practice. Begin with the repetition of the idea for today, followed by a minute or so of looking about you as you apply the idea to whatever you see. So if you can open your eyes now. And now, this is the practice. This is a radical practice, and we're only on day 37 of the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles. So I ask for you for the rest of the time we're together and for the rest of the day, when your eye lights on something, my holiness blesses this book. So whatever your eyes land on, your brother, my holiness blesses Nancy. My holiness blesses the chair. My holiness blesses the floor. You're just practicing. You're allowing yourself to think in a new way. You're showing up in a new way. Where before we weren't even conscious of what we were doing, right? We're just walking and things happen and people say stuff and emails come in and when you start to become conscious again, that's what it means to wake up. And it's Easter. I didn't know it was Easter until yesterday, which is so funny, but it's the resurrection. The resurrection is nothing more than your resurrection from your being bound to littleness and limitation. That's what the resurrection is. And so, what? Woo-hoo! Yeah, right? And so this really is what this is all about. And we come to this place where we allow it to happen. Like we really step in and say, okay, like who here still would like to hang on to some grievances a little bit? Anybody?
We can all put our hand up a little.
You want to hang on to some grievances still?
I don't want to, but I think I do, so whether it's subconsciously, so if it's subconsciously, I do.
But if I just ask you in this moment, you want to hang on to those grievances?
No.
And that's it. So it's a choice. So you might say, well, I'm not sure. Like who really would like to hang on to some grievances? Don't think that you can't let them go. Who just wants to hang on to some? Anybody? Nobody. I got 100% in here. Okay.
96.5.
Yes, Irene.
does.
Where's the microphone? Okay.
One of my,
Let's get the microphone on there, please.
I don't know
You
that
can
this,
have all of mine.
I don't know that this is microphone worthy. I think being right is delicious. And I think being right is one of my seductive places to go. You know, and I'm in there making I'm right sandwich before I even realize I've got the refrigerator open. You know, I mean, it's just so flipping automatic.
Yep.
And I think there are other things like that too. You know, there are other things like that too. And that there is automatic as using my dominant hand. There's automatic as blinking.
Yep.
So it takes a while to, what's going on though? What's going on and has been going on for a very long time is I'm less and less comfortable with my behavior when I'm in there. You know, when I'm in there rolling around and I'm self-righteous, I'm right, it starts feeling like self-righteous. It just doesn't, it's kind of like having too much Halloween candy. It's like, this really is feeling gross.
Yep.
So I
And
think that's like a big awakening.
I'm glad you brought this up, because this is like this week, the Notre Dame Cathedral started on fire and some of it was destroyed. And a week ago, decided, I saw a message on Facebook that somebody posted, "I'm so sad." And then she basically said that she was sad because she was used to things being a certain way, and then they changed, and now they're not, now they're different, and she wants things to be back the way that they were, and I'm feeling sad. So my first thought was like, well, she did do the 40-day program. Because I really feel like if you did the 40-day program, you would no way ever post that out in public. Okay? So you might feel sad. You might feel it. And of course, it's just like, I feel sad. It just comes in like waves. We're in the mix of vibratory things here in this world. So they'll pass through, and I might feel like something, okay? But in the mind training of A Course in Miracles, you take the label away. Like, it's not sadness, it's just a wave of something. And if you can stay in awareness, you can be like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to be very conscious about the story that's going on in my head. And I'm going to be aware before I put it out there through my voice or before I post it down, right? At some point when you're posting a message, there must be a point before you finish posting it and push the send button when you can catch that, right? Right? We all have that power and ability. So I saw the post and I was like, all right, I'm definitely doing my next podcast on this idea, feeling sad. Well, what I did not expect was the night before I'm about to do the podcast, the Notre Dame Cathedral is set on fire, and the world is ablaze with comments, "I'm so sad," including tons of people who've taken the 40-day program. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I did this thing, and it goes along with what you just said, Irene. So if you can catch that, you can catch yourself, I love to be right. And you just expressed it, that you already see it doesn't feel good. Like you already.
That's good. We're in process.
So it feels so see, but this is so good because now you know there's a little bit of a benefit in there for you. So now you can say, okay, I know there's going to be consequences, but that's good. That's okay. Right? And so when you are done with that, when you really can see that being right gives you other effects that I know you don't want. Those vibrations, they're bad neighborhoods. That's what I was saying. I said it's like you wander into these bad neighborhoods. So what I said in the post about this feeling sad idea, if you drove into a really scary neighborhood, or if you walked into a room where people were shooting heroin, would you stay there? Unless you really got a strong voice that you were told to stay there for help and healing. But would you hang out there? Anybody? You'd walk right through. But with sadness and shame and blame and guilt, we land in the bad neighborhood and we're like, I think I'm just going to hang out here for a little bit, see what happens. Right? Like another example. I know a lot of us and others go out after this Friday group for lunch. Have you ever gone to McDonald's? No. Ever? Have you? You used to work there. But do you go there for lunch? Okay, nothing against McDonald's, but the food's not that good, right? If you have a choice of where you want to go as a group for lunch, why don't you ever go to McDonald's? Because you've probably been there and it's just not the highest quality experience you want to have when you go out. So you've made a choice to go somewhere else. That's what I'm talking about. There are infinite possibilities. What?
All the tables are anchored to the ground and we can't move them together.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. She said all the tables are anchored to the ground and you can't move them around. But it's like that with sadness.
You're like, hey, Lisa, how's your
Exactly. And once you have that experience 1 or 2 or 3 times, you would remember, oh, we went there in the past and it really wasn't that fun and it wasn't that good. Well, let's go somewhere else. So the scientists have already proven we live in a quantum universe and infinite possibilities where you can go anywhere. All possibilities are available to all of us, but because of consistent training with the neural pathways, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm angry, I'm angry, I'm angry. You keep going there, and it's hard work in the beginning to change that pathway. So the best way I have heard it described was with Carlos Castaneda. I've mentioned this many times in the past. But what Carlos Castaneda said, he's a Toltec warrior, possibly fiction, I don't know, I don't care, but he basically says these masters can see your energetic bubble. We all live in an energetic bubble that's our configuration based on how we have held ourselves in our thoughts, our beliefs, and our emotions. And what the masters can see is that on the bubble, there's a point where the energy field is assembled. And what a master does is move the point. And you move the point, when the point gets moved, either by a teacher who will disrupt you, or by an event that disrupts you, someone dies, something upsetting, that point moves, all the energies start to move. So you feel really out of it at first, like everything's moving now. But what we do as humans is everything in our power to hold the energy together, right? We just don't want, we don't want anything going off left over there. I want to hold my job together. I want to hold my kids together. I want to hold everything together, and then I'm good, right? But you're not good because it takes 96.4% of your energy to hold the point together. That's why trust is the first characteristic of a teacher of God, because you need trust to allow the energies to move. And when it starts moving, it's scary. And what Carlos Castaneda said, and I've always remembered this, is that when the point moves, it shifts, you'll feel any number of things. So let's use the example of you've decided you are just going to get in terrific shape. You're just going to eat healthy, you're going to go to the gym, you're going to be totally different, you're going to have new habits. That's the point moving. Well, what happens 6 hours later? Irene, off to the fridge, right? And because what he said was the point habitually moves back to its original resting spot because that's how you've been holding it together. So what he said was you have to keep shifting it. You keep shifting it. So I'm so sad. No, hold on a second. No, find things to be grateful for. That's shifting the point. And then you fall back into sadness. I'm so angry. No, wait, hold on a second. Joy is my function here. So you're in a new vibration for a second. Something happens, shifts back to the original spot. I'm so pissed off. So you keep shifting. And what he said is at a certain point, not at a certain point. Every time you shift, it makes a little bit of a groove in the new location. And you shift back, and you deliberately shift over, a little deeper, shift back. So you keep until finally one fine day, it like drops in this new location. It won't ever slide back again. So I know that when I quit drinking alcohol, finally, 5 years of dumping vodka down the drain and on my own will, trying to quit drinking. I got this. But I would quit drinking, and the time kept getting bigger, where first I could only stop drinking for a couple of days. And then something would happen, I'd be back at the liquor store. And then I would make that resolution again, that declaration. I'd tell all my friends, I'm not drinking anymore. I don't like it. I don't like how I am when I'm drinking. I don't like how I feel. 5 years of liquor store, drinking half the bottle, dump it down the drain, declaration. I used to buy smaller bottles, like all the tricks. And then it would give me more space. I would stop drinking for 3 to 6 months. And I'm like, I got this. And then something would happen, back in the liquor store again, another bottle of vodka, feeling bad about myself. But I never gave up. Never. I did not want to be a drinker. I didn't like it. And finally, 18 years ago, I was in a new spot. And I have had zero desire for alcohol in 18 years. So it's like this with everything, where you really can see, like just using you, Irene, is like when the point comes when you just don't really want that experience anymore.
I want to talk about another dimension, okay? And that is when we are all taught that our light matters to other people's light. And I'm going to use your experience at Jennifer Hadley's retreat, okay? You said while we're all in the room together, nobody could find anything that they wanted to hang on to. But then alone, they did feel it. Mm-hmm. I just got off of doing facilitating a retreat for people who were severely PTSD.
What's that?
PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm-hmm. That can come after military service. It can come after being multiply raped, beaten, whatever. Okay. And so what was going on with those people on a whatever scale that were with you is there was safety in the room. Yep. So to experience the new energy takes safety. Mm-hmm. So we can hold the space for others. Yep. When we do that without judgment, we're holding the space for others. Mm-hmm. And then they're safe enough to take that leap off the board. Exactly. Because if you think about life energy, the light, that energy is big. It's mm-hmm. wide open. It's exposed. And if your whole body only knows safety by crouching and holding on tight, mm-hmm. if you've been raped, if you've been beaten, if you've been in war, whatever, your whole body knows how to hold on tight. And so to be experiencing joy is a scary, scary process. Mm-hmm. Yep. It feels like you're in danger. So that's when like you were holding the light in that room. Mm-hmm. So they came back to the room remembering because they're alone, and then they started sharing. But there has to be some safety. You got some safety later on in a 12-step program that probably helped you too. Mm-hmm. We have to bring our willingness in a partnership with that. Like we have to show up and say, I don't want this anymore. And then what I believe happens is those angels that are supposed to come and help us and hold the circle for us so we can be safe enough to jump off the high board.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's there, the safety is there. And then you learn to carry the safety yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the ways that we can be wonderful teachers of God is to hold back the judgment. Yeah. Exactly. Hold the space and hold back the judgment. Yeah. Anyway, I love what you're talking about.
That's so good.
Because this is the resurrection.
It is the resurrection. And thank you, Irene, because that's what I always have been expressing for the last couple of years is A Course in Miracles to me is two parts. The first part is your own awakening, where you go through the transfiguration. You just commit to saying, okay, as much as I can, I'm going to commit to these workbook lessons. I'm going to commit to remembering the truth. And that's why I love A Course in Miracles so much, because it gives us a structure and it's self-study. So like what you're saying, Irene, is true. Like I went to Endeavor Academy. I didn't go into 12 steps, but I went to a place where there was 250 people dedicated to the truth. So, and here we have a Friday group and we have online groups and we have so much. But what I always come back to is each one of us has to come to the point when you can stand all alone and find that light.
Yes.
You find it. And that's the Christ. Like, so for in the beginning stages, we need a body who's carrying the light with certainty so that you can see it for yourself. Like, oh, okay, this must be a possibility to quit drinking, to get fit, to get happy, to be healed, because we've seen other people do it. So I stand as a demonstration the way Jesus stands as a role model. He's now inviting us to follow his example. And he says, today's Good Friday. So this is the day symbolically, or, 2,000 years ago, they put him on a cross. They nailed him to the cross. And he said that he chose to do that he could have used the power of God to avoid the crucifixion, but he knew that was part of his role, that without the crucifixion, there would be no resurrection. So he, as an individual, as a man, Jesus, knew, all right, I'm doing this. And so now he comes back with the Course in Miracles and says that he was a role model to show in the worst case scenario, they beat him, they tore him, they nailed him, they killed him. And much lesser conditions that we have, that we can use him as the example. Like he could have been really upset, right? But he said, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. When someone's attacking you, or when you're attacking you, you don't know what you're doing. You would never attack yourself if you really knew what you were doing. And like the whole food issue that you talk about, Irene, like that was me for years also. I went from alcoholism, dealt with that, and then there was the food. So then I just transferred some of that over to overeating and self-sabotage and self-judgment. And I just came to a point where I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I am going to be the weight that I am, which was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I'm not dieting ever again. I'm just not dieting. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to totally love myself in this body. And that's why that marathon I just walked, I didn't run it, I walked it, is the most important. I've done 4 other half marathons where I trained for them. I really tried to run. I tried to be a version of what I thought you were supposed to do in those situations. And I hurt myself. It wasn't it didn't feel natural to me. Bill saw me. Like I would be in pain just for days after that. And this one, I'm like, you know what? I'm going because it's going to be fun. I'm just going to have fun, and I'm going to walk it. And a couple of days before we went to New York, I said, I must be the only, no, how did I say it? I said something like, no one trains for a half marathon like me. That's what I said, because I hadn't trained at all. So I said, no one trains for a half marathon like me. He goes, half? He said, I thought this was a 5K. I said, no, it's a half. And he's like, are you serious? And he thought because of my attitude that it was just this little race, right? But to me, finishing it like that was just everything, because I knew like, wow, I'm in my own vibration now. That's what this is about. This is what being the Christ is about. This is what it looks like. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. You are the Christ. You are the Christ. This is what it looks like. It doesn't look like something else. And so the first part is to allow your own transfiguration to occur. And then what Irene is saying, then, Course in Miracles says, now the darkness in you has been carried to light. So when the darkness is carried to the light and you're lifted up into this vibration of oneness, of wholeness, of truth, of holiness, all the darkness disappears. And then Jesus says, now carry the light back to darkness and give it to your brothers. So often people just say, well, I just want to like get to the accomplishment and then there's nothing to do. But that's not what the Course says. The Course really is saying, like, we're here as the saviors of the world. We're here to give this light. We're here to allow the love and the grace and the joy of God, which is love, to be extended. So to me, the only work of A Course in Miracles is to allow the blocks that are blocking the light to be removed. You don't actually extend the light. Do you see that? Amen. Like if you are extending the light, there's an ego involved. Like I'm just going to give love. I'm just giving love to all these people who are suffering. Well, now you see a world of people suffering. But when you come into your identification as Christ, you see only the Christ. When I look at you, I look at you, I look at you, I don't see a problem. So when people come to me and they're in pain, I can hear that they're in pain. I know immediately, okay, they don't know who they are. That's not a big deal. It's easily corrected. And I can help them. And then they have that experience, and now they're going to go carry it to others. So we still have time. I want to pass the mic to anybody who wants to share anything. Yeah.
I wanted to tag. I wanted to tag that dialogue that you were having with Irene because I thought it was important. The idea that our presence or the safety of a group that's in a retreat environment and that whole there is safety. There's safety right here in this group. There's safety in that experience, and for that experience, there is, and you've said, and we have expressed in our courses that we're a temporary guide, and Jesus said that I have to go to the Father so the Holy Spirit can come, and the Holy Spirit is not an entity. The Holy Spirit is your own awareness of your being, and it wasn't that he had to go so it could come. He had to go, and you have to go, and the Course has to go so that we can have our own direct experience, because as long as we're reading, we're in the mind. If we're in stillness, we're in the being.
Yep.
And all of those elements those are temporary elements that are leading us to our own direct experience of beingness. Yep. And that is necessary. It's necessary that you go away for the other beings to have their experience. Yep. Because as long as they're borrowing yours, it's borrowing yours. Yep. It's borrowing your light. But that is only to give us the glimpse, because the glimpse is first it's seen and then it's known. Because when it's known, it's because that being has been in the light. Now they can have a memory of their own light experience that was initially borrowed from yours. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, and that's really what the vision of the Teachers of God Foundation has been, and that's why we changed the Friday group, because before it was just me and Bill, And we're like, no, 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 we don't want anybody looking to us. Like, we want you to step into your own power, your own certainty, your own Christhood. And that's why we want people to share. We have people come up. We have people teaching, because that's a fear point. Like, when you start to express from that place, no one knows how to express from that place at first. And I was just at my mom's house last weekend. Hi, Mom, if you're listening. And she loves Andrea Bocelli. Now, I love Andrea Bocelli. Who loves Andrea Bocelli? And he has a new movie that just came out. It's called The Music of Silence. It's on Netflix. It's his autobiography. It's a little bit fictionalized, but he went blind as a child, and he's got an incredible voice. But during the movie, I knew that guy needs training. But he thought his voice was amazing. You know, he's winning awards, and he's in a piano bar, and everybody's clapping, and everybody's like, oh my God, you're amazing. But I knew, I don't know the story about Andrea Bocelli, but when I was watching the movie, I was like, in order for that guy to reach a new level, he's going to need a trainer. He can't do it by himself. And that's what the Course says. You cannot wake yourself up because you put yourself to sleep. So you need your brother for a moment. You need the Course. You need something that's going to challenge you. And so he ended up finding this trainer, and it's called The Music of Silence, because this trainer is just listening to his voice. He's like, okay, if I ask you this question, how many words will you answer me back? And Andre's like, well, too many words, stop talking. I don't want you talking anymore. And then he's like, oh, well, then I'll just sing. No, I don't want you singing anymore either. So this trainer was like, realizing you can't go anywhere from where you think you are. You need to be quiet. I need you to really feel. Has anybody seen The Music of Silence yet? No.
But we will.
We will. And then he's talking about, he's like, okay, Andrea smokes cigarettes at this point, and the guy goes, well, what are your habits? And he works in a piano bar all night long, and the guy's like, well, tonight's your last night at that job. You're quitting. And then he's like, what time to go to bed? And he tells him, I want you in bed at 10 p.m. I want you up sharp at 7 a.m. Please don't tell me you smoke. He's like, I don't smoke. He's like, okay, good. But he's basically challenging Andrea. And what most people in a spiritual realm, they don't want to be challenged. They say they want out of their previous current condition. When you know what you have to do to get into another vibration, you have a choice to make, right? So this is only for the bold. And everyone's going to have to make the, right, Shirley? Because in order to get to a different vibration, which is the Christ, you have to be willing to loose everything that you have been holding on to. That's your littleness, your shame, your stories, your identity has to go, the person has to go, you have to go. So you make a space for the Christ to come. What?
Your need to be right.
Your need to be right has to go. Who wants to?
Go. She was wrong that you did AA. She was wrong. Right?
I did go to AA later. 5 years into my sobriety, I realized, all right, I need to, and I love AA. Like, it's a brilliant program because it is a community and a fellowship of just people who really want a whole new way of living. So we find our people here. That's the beautiful part, that you're really not alone. And you really, in that place when you said, I want another way, the way becomes very clear.
So I live in fear, and I have realized it's like a rotary. And I am on this rotary speeding around, and centrifugal force keeps me pinned into that fearful circle. And there's all of these ways off of the rotary, all of these paths, all of these different roads. And one is Jesus say, come here, come follow me. My friends are saying, Jane, come here. The book is saying, come here, come here. But I am so fearful that I remain in that centrifugal force. And we were talking about this last week, and my friend Jen said, I said, I'm in a rut. And she said, and the way out of the rut is bumpy. And I start to get out of the rut, and those bumps ignite my fear, and I immediately get back in the rut and go for that circle and just keep circling around. And you all are saying, Jane, come out. You can trust.
Yep.
Come out. And all of these different ways are telling me to come.
Yep.
So I have decided to live in fearless forgiveness.
Yay.
And
That's great.
I mean, I just slipped last night on back into fear.
Yep.
So it is a journey.
Yep.
And the healing has already been offered to me. And I just need to trust and be willing to traverse those bumps in trust.
Yep. Yep.
And come out to the ways that are calling me.
You just described the healing cure, by the way. Part of the healing cure is a practice. You always use circles in all my teachings, and it's to come back to the center. And that's what I was saying. When you are here, so people say, oh, I'm present, I'm in the now, I'm here. Yeah, but where is here? Where's your state of mind? So here may be, it's Friday, it's in Amesbury, Massachusetts. I can tell you're totally present. So I know now you're here is centered in love. I can see it. But often people's here is sitting in a chair in the now, but they're not in the now because their mind is in that circle. So the training is to catch when you're off your center. And you know when you're off your center by how you feel. You catch yourself and you go, and that's Jesus's voice, which is your own Christ mind. Come back, follow me. And so you're constantly being called back to the center. This is the prodigal son story. This is what I talk about in the healing cure. Prodigal son wandered away from the center, which is within us. We wander away. I can do it alone. That's what separation is. I'm good. Right? And we keep wandering into darkness. And because we see other people succeeding in darkness, we think, must be possible. I guess I just have to work harder. I guess I guess I haven't been giving it enough effort. I'll try harder. And you keep wandering. But to come to a decision like that, look how fast, whoop, back to your center. And when you wander off again, because you will, because we do, you keep catching it until finally you're solid. You're just really standing in the light that you are. And my experience, I can't remember how I used to be. I was depressed, I was sad, I was overwhelmed, I was alcoholic, I was an addict. I don't even know when it changed. I have no idea.
Lisa, can I say a little blurb?
Yep.
To what you're saying?
Come here.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be in the camera.
Andy's got it.
Okay.
Your brother's got your back.
So just one little blurb on all of that. I started the Healing Cure program with Lisa, and I got to week 3 and haven't done a lot, but I practiced this holiness. And I set the alarm on my phone. Once an hour it rings, and I just go back to center. So it's a great practice. Even when I'm like really busy at work and that thing's going off, and I hit restart, and but for that moment, the alarm's going off, I'm back in my holiness. And the other little practice that I've taken from this is everyone that comes to me with a problem wants me to pray for them or do something. I say, okay, and I grab their hand and I say, take a deep breath, and everybody is responsive to this. They all want to do it. Mm-hmm. I said, don't wish for anything different. Just be right here in this moment and bless it, envelop it in your holiness. And everyone's receptive to it. Yeah. Everybody. And so I just wanted to add those 2 little things. It's 2 little simple things to just throw in to your life. And take Lisa's healing cure. You'll love it.
Thank you. Thank you. You first. Do we have time on this, or is it going to shut off?
We're out of time.
Rich, I just want to. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to go back just for a second. I guess I don't need this. It's not on. Right? It's on.
Is that on?
It's on.
46
Oh.
million people are watching.
Okay. If I could go back to the fire at at Notre Dame, because it seemed to me, maybe I heard it differently, but sadness seems very appropriate. There are times when sadness, 9/11 tragedy happens, and is there a way? I mean, and it's a connection. It's when we feel that human connection, because pretty soon people that a world tragedy, not a tragedy in France, but a world tragedy, and it seems to me like it's an opportunity to feel the connection and think about the things that place has done. It does for our humanity, our spirituality, so many things. So, is that something that you want to try and get out of right away, or is that a different kind of experience than, oh, I'm mad at so and so, or I'm upset, angry about that?
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because you just said sadness seems appropriate to the situation, which is why most people do feel sadness, or they post I'm sad. And somebody posted a letter to me, a private letter, and she said, I was one of the people who posted I'm so sad. And then she listened to my podcast, and she realized that she wasn't actually sad, but she felt that it was appropriate to the situation, that she should be there available to the others that were sad. And when she sat in it, she realized that she was actually grateful that she got to go there and see it in person. But she realized I wasn't really sad. So the sadness for me, like if you sincerely are experiencing sadness, and that's normal, that just to be able to be aware of the sadness, take the label off it, and be in the sensation of it, and then say, is there another way I can shift out of this so that I'm out of the sadness? And then you can be very helpful to others. So I do not put my head in the sand. I don't just say, oh, it's all an illusion. I see people with cancer, with pain, with sorrow, with depression, I'm available to them so fully, because I know what they're going through, because I went through it. My sadness does not help them. My presence helps them.
Yeah.
So when I'm present with somebody who's confused or lonely or whatever, I can see right through their story, and I'm listening. That's the training of A Course in Miracles. So you're training yourself to be a miracle worker, where this is with the podcast. Like if you want to listen to it, it's episode 19. And somebody said as a question, what do I do about other people who are sad? You can never know. Because sometimes if somebody's talking to me their story, I let them go for 20 minutes. I don't care. Because that's what's given in the situation. Just listen to them and be there. And like Bonnie says, take their hand. Other times I'll be like, that's enough of that. Like, I don't know. The moment always tells me what to do based on the situation. So I'm always listening to the person. I'm seeing through the story. The Christ in me is blessing you. It's just like a silence. My holiness blesses you. And I know that you are now going to have a different response, because it's a vibratory power of love that I'm not blocking now. Now, if I joined you in your story, there's no light there. We're just talking a story and we're both sad. So that's where I'm so glad you asked that question, because that's an important one. Like, how do you show up in this world and be so available as the light, as this love? But if you really pay attention, you'll notice if you take your labels off stuff, it's not the label you said it was. And it didn't, the story attached to it isn't even the story that actually, we don't know anything. And that's where my joy comes from, because now I'm free, and now you're free, right? And now you know if you fall back, there's a way to come back. And I love you all. We'll join in a circle. And I'm trying to think who wants to do the closing. I'm looking. So thank you so much for being here. And we have a donation box available, and there's a donation button online. And we appreciate your generosity. Helps us pay for the space, helps us pay for the live stream. It really is just so helpful. And where's the box?
Over there. It's right
Over
behind
there. Okay,
you.
very
Right here
good.
on your way out.
And so we bless, because we bless everything, the money that comes out of the pocket into the box. Because when you bless things, you become one with it. And this is an experience where even the idea of giving money, to really look at, are you afraid to give money? Are you afraid to what thoughts come up with that? And you see, like, I need it. And now we're entering into a brand new space where we're seeing the abundance. We're now stepping in for every single one of you here. I want you to really know this, that you have everything to give. And as you give it, it multiplies. As you bless it and know that there is a storehouse for you of whatever you need, love, joy, friendship, money, security, safety. And now the training is to no longer block it, to no longer do anything by yourself. And so we bless the tithes and offerings with the unity blessing. Divine love as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So I want you to find your feet, find them, put your attention there on your feet. I want you to find the hand on both sides of you. I want you to feel your awareness go to the hand. I want you to be aware that there is a light that is now extending through each and every one of us. It's now circling. It's landed on you right now. That light is now landed on you. It's now extending. It's extending to the left. I want you to be aware of your left. It's now extending to the right. I want you to be aware of the right. It's extending through every cell in your body. And there's harmony now. There's harmony that is occurring as you allow this light to move, no longer blocking it with fear. Breathing in. And wherever your feet are is where God is. And we remember that as we carry this light. If you think I'm not in the right place, I want you to find your feet. Where are your feet? Wherever your feet are is where your holiness is. And where your holiness is where God is. And the presence and power of God can do all things. It can end all sorrow. It can solve all difficulties. And this light goes before you. It's behind you. It's beside you. And it's removing all obstacles from your pathway now. It is a new and holy day. The thorns have been taken away. And now we are in the resurrection. We are in the transfiguration. As we allow ourselves to identify with the love that we are, with our holiness. I thank you, Jesus, for showing us the way, for being the leader in this plan as we guide our brothers home and we go with him. Amen.
Amen.
Happy Easter.